What's up, guys? I'm back. Today I want to talk about my first show experience. So, I feel like your first show experience kind of makes or breaks whether you want to continue bodybuilding or not, or competitive bodybuilding or not. I've spoken to a lot of people who no longer bodybuild, and they all had a terrible first show experience. So, I guess I understand why they chose not to do it anymore. For me personally, I mean, prep is hard. You know, it's not rainbows and butterflies. It's you get an amazing physique, but it takes a lot out of you physically and mentally. So I went through shit, but nothing that like made me hate it. If anything, it made me love it that much more. I actually didn't want to compete, like, ever. When I hired Coach Walker, I had kind of been like training and dieting like on my own with like macro calculators or whatever the fuck. And I felt like I was like at a point where I wasn't improving, like I was kind of stuck. So I decided to hire Walker to just help me out. I was like, maybe I need someone who knows a little bit more about this. So I literally just wanted to look good. I think I hired him like late 2018, early 2019. So at the beginning of 2020, he was like, hey, let's do a prep. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, what do I have to lose? Absolutely nothing. Like, I'll do this show. If I hate it, then I won't do it again. Plain and simple, right? 2020, we know what happened. So that stopped. So then in 2021, we were like, all right, let's do this for real this time. So we did. So the hardest part of my entire prep was when I moved to Texas. So this is kind of like a story because it was a lot. So when we decided that we were moving to Texas, we booked a flight to come over here and basically see it and like just kind of see what the fuck we wanted to do. So we did that, and on that trip, it was a week. My coach like said, try to do the best to stay on plan. Make healthy choices, whatever. So we had a hotel room, and I did like bring my scale, and we went to the grocery store and all that, but like I couldn't actually cook, so I kind of switched off some proteins. So I wasn't like, I want to say I was 70% on point with my diet, right? But it was kind of like okay, like I didn't feel shitty about it, right? So that was that. We found an apartment, whatever. We flew back, decided, okay, we're gonna move, packed our shit into a moving van. So the plan was we're going to pack our shit into the moving van. We're going to drive the moving van to Texas, to our apartment. And then we will fly back, pick up the car, and then drive right back. Why that was a cheaper option, I don't fucking know. But it was a cheaper option at the time. So the first time when we drove with the moving van, we were at our California apartment, so I was able to make the food that I needed to make it to the trip, to make it to Texas with all the food that I needed to be on prep. The only thing was I wasn't going to be able to train. But my coach was like, as long as, you eat what you're supposed to, blah, 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 at least try to get cardio in, move a little bit, So we did that, and it was hard. Like, I was on the fucking road for fucking hours, days. So it was a little hard, but I managed. So when we got to Texas, with the moving van, our apartment wasn't ready. So we had to fly back and pick up the car. But originally the plan was like the apartment was going to be ready, and I was going to be able to go to the grocery store, and I was going to be able to cook and make the food I needed so that we could fly back and I could carry on with that food until we made it back to Texas again. But our apartment wasn't ready. I couldn't cook. I couldn't use the kitchen. I remember like trying to figure out my food without having to cook anything. So I like, did my macros and everything. And granted, I don't do macros. Like, I do meal plans. My coach tells me what the food I need to have, and that's what I have. So I was trying to do macros while like having this apartment that like didn't fucking have a kitchen, and we had to fly back, and there was this whole fucking thing, right? I remember we went to this grocery store, and I'm standing in the middle of the grocery store, and Brick Wall's like, "What do you need?" And I was like, "I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. I can't fucking do this." And like, I literally broke down in the middle of a grocery store. And he kind of just like said, "Okay." I said, "Let's fucking go." And he said, "Okay." And we left. So that was like the hardest point in my prep. And it was because there was so much uncertainty. Like, I was in a new state. I technically didn't have a place to live. I couldn't follow the plan. Like, it was mentally fucking me. So, there's this whole thing. Anyway, we decided to fly back to California. I said, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to prep for this part of the trip. So I didn't. We flew back to California. We grabbed the car. We ended up driving to Vegas. And in Vegas, we did Vegas stuff. I ate the entire trip, just stuff, whatever the fuck we were stopping to eat. So when we made it back to Texas, I remember, like, first thing we did, like, the apartment was ready, kitchen was ready, so we went to the grocery store, got everything I needed. And I remember being in our, at the time, it was like just a table we used for orders when we were having breakfast. And I started to cry because I felt like I had failed my prep. And something I forgot to mention is when I decided that I wasn't going to prep for that second trip, my coach was like totally okay with that. He just said, like, we're going to move your show date. And we pushed my show date like a month. Turned out to be amazing because I ended up competing with one of my close friends. But in that moment when I was having my breakfast that I had a breakdown, it was like I failed because I was supposed to compete on this day. And I'm not because of this. And I remember Brick Wall said, like, you didn't fail. You're still doing the show. You're just doing it later. It doesn't change that the work is going to get done. The work is going to get done regardless. So that was the hardest point in my prep. And the funny thing is that I wasn't even actually on prep yet. Like, I was, but I wasn't. Like, my coach knew we were moving, and it was kind of like, okay, you're on prep, but, it doesn't have to be 1,000,000% accurate, So I didn't officially start prep until July. I remember I had like a really big cheat day on July 4th. I don't know if it was July 4th or July 4th weekend, but my coach said, okay, eat whatever the fuck you want, and we start prep on Monday. And I was going to start keto on Monday. I remember that. So I went ham and started prep in July. The rest of my prep was like any other prep. I mean, I was hungry. I was training like crazy, fasted cardio. It was normal. It was a normal prep, like the ups and downs of it, the moods, all of that. There was points where I remember getting up to do fasted cardio and like feeling like I was going to pass out. I would get home from doing fasted cardio and I would pass out for like just sitting there because I was so fucking exhausted. We'd be driving to the gym and I had no energy. Like, I didn't want to do anything. And luckily, at the time, Brickwall was training me, like personal training me. So I had him to kind of get me through the workouts. especially the ones that I didn't want to do. So, like any other prep, if anyone knows anything about prep, it was hard. It wasn't rainbows and butterflies. It never is. But yeah, like there was nothing I could complain about that was like, ugh, I fucking hated that about prep, right? So then I was actually ready to rock 2 weeks out. 2 weeks out from my show, I sent check-ins to my coach, and he's like, "You're ready. You're ready. Let's reverse diet into the show." Rewind a little bit. I want to say 3 weeks out was one of like the lowest food points that I had, and I remember just feeling like shit the entire day. I think I was on like 1,000 calories, and I was training, and I was burning about 500 in my training. So I was having a total of 500 calories a day or so. So that was like shitty. I remember having like one really, really bad just mental day. Like I was just done. I was tired. And that day, my show day robe arrived, and it was amazing. But I just remember that one day. Like, so it was like before my actual prep, and then that day was just, it was really hard. Like, it was really hard on me. And I remember like feeling pretty crappy. But then after that week, like I said, I sent check-ins to my coach, and he said, "You're ready. Let's reverse diet into your show," which was fucking awesome, because on peak week, I am having a whole bunch of fucking carbs and all this food, and it's freaking awesome because I mean, I just spent the last 2 to 3 weeks starving, and suddenly I'm having like English muffins and fucking Ezekiel bread and a bunch of carbs, which was fun. It was really, really fun. So that was pretty cool that I was able to reverse diet into my show. My weight was not increasing at all. So my coach actually took out my cardio for peak week. I had zero cardio. I wasn't training. I was like moving. So I remember doing like 3 sets of 15 reps with like super fucking easy weight, like just to move. And yeah, so like peak week was fucking easy. I had water like crazy. And then my show was actually in San Diego that year, so we flew out. I think we flew out that Friday before the show. So that wasn't ideal. But it is what it is, what we did. So the night before, my coach said, he sent me a text message like, "Hey, if you wake up under this weight, this is your food. If you wake up over this weight, this is your food." So the next morning I wake up and took my weight, and we drove to Walmart to grab the stuff I needed, and then we drove to the airport. So yeah, that was that. I ate the day before my show. I ate whatever coach told me to eat. I remember we flew to Los Angeles, and we had to drive to San Diego. So in the drive, we stopped because I had to check in with my coach. So we ended up checking in. He told me, "Okay, have this, blah, 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 whatever." So throughout the day, I was eating and drinking water because I guess you get very dehydrated when you fly. I did not know that, but anyway. So I drank water the entire day. Like, I did not stop drinking water at all the day before my show. Which is one thing that like a lot of people say, like they couldn't fucking drink water, and I was like, can't relate. But this is the hardest. This was the hardest part of my, I guess, peak week. In this case, it was one day out, or fucking couple hours out. So we got through the entire day, we checked in, got the tan, all that fun stuff. I saw my coach. He was like, okay, you need to eat this, blah, 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 whatever. I'm done. I'm fucking tired. I'm ready to go to bed. I have to be up at like 5 o'clock in the morning the next day to get my hair and makeup done. So Brickwall and I are in bed, and it's 11 o'clock at night, right? Just laying in bed, and my phone was on Do Not Disturb, but my coach was able to bypass that because obviously he needed to get a hold of me. So he sends me a text message, and he goes, "How are we feeling?" And I was like, fucking tired. And he's like, "Cool, let me see you." I remember I read the text and I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me right now. I was like, I do not want to get out of bed right now. So when you get a tan, you're not supposed to wear like tight clothes because it'll like get rid of the tan. So I was like in this really big baggy pajama set thing. And I was like, I do not want to put clothes on right now and check in. Like, that was the last thing I wanted to do at that very moment. But I did. We got out of bed, sent in pictures, and he responds, "You need a double burger." And I was just like, now anybody else in my shoes, after being starved for a couple weeks, would have probably been like, fuck yeah, like, we get a burger. I, on the other hand, was like, are you serious? I don't want a fucking burger. I just want to go to sleep right now. So like I mentioned, we were in San Diego. We didn't have a car. We weren't about to fucking order anything, so we just went downstairs at the hotel, and they had this like little place. Ended up paying like way too much for that fucking burger. And if the patties were like this fucking thick, like they were fucking huge. And I remember I looked at it and I was like, this looks kind of big. So Brickwall was like, text Walker and just make sure like that he still wants you to eat both the patties. So I did. I texted him and I was like, hey, like, this is my burger. Like, should I eat the entire thing or should I just do one patty? And he's like, go ahead. He's like, eat it. If you feel too full, then stop. But like, go ahead and eat the whole thing. And I was like, all right. I ate the whole thing. And I was pretty full, but I wasn't like, like I wasn't stuffed. So I ate the whole thing, and I was 97 pounds for like an entire week. He was trying to get me up. So I went to bed at like 104 that night. So that was it. That was like the worst fucking moment I had in my entire like peak week. Like just wanting to go to sleep and having to go get this fucking burger. I remember waiting for the burger. Like, we were sitting there and like we were both tired, but I was just like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to fucking do this right now. I don't want a burger. I want to go to sleep. But that was it. That was like my worst moment in my entire fucking like show experience or show day experience. So again, I went to bed at 1:04. I woke up the next morning and TMI, but I couldn't poop. So coach asked for check-ins or whatever. I sent him check-ins and he said, okay, have this for breakfast. By the way, my show day breakfast is probably the best thing I ever fucking had on the planet. It was, if I remember correctly, it was 2 rice cakes with honey, and it was either jam or almond butter or both, or maybe honey or jam, something like that. Bacon, it was like 2 or 4 slices of bacon, I don't remember at the top of my head right now, and granola. Ugh, it was so good, so freaking good, better than the fucking double burger that I had the night before, and then some coffee. So obviously the coffee made me shit. Guess what? I'm back to 97 pounds. I remember my coach was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you had that fucking massive burger and you were up to 104, and like as soon as you shit, you're back down to 97. I'm just like, I don't know. Like, my metabolism was just crazy at that point in time. But yeah, so that was breakfast, and then The whole thing went down. I think my next meal was like chicken and rice, which was pretty lame. Yeah, that's all I had. And then before stepping on stage, I just remember having salt. Yeah, just salt, I think. And then, so that was that. Went on stage for prejudging. I got second place in all my classes. And so it was between finals and prejudging, and coach said, have a burger, just a single burger, and a handful of fries. And that's it. So I did. I was also drinking water this entire time. One thing that he had me tracking was my pee, like what color was my pee. I guess the plane ride like just dehydrates the fuck out of you, because I was pretty much dehydrated, even on my show day. So I kept drinking water like normal. He'd be like, oh, drink 16 ounces or 8 ounces or like that, like throughout the day. So yeah, I had the burger with a handful of fries, and then we went back for finals, and finals took a little bit longer than expected. So I was pretty fucking hungry before going on stage. And I remember my coach came up to me. He's like, how are you feeling? Are you hungry? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, drink like 8 ounces of water. And I was like, bitch, I'm hungry. But yeah, and then it was time to go back on stage, and I remember I had salt again and a Rice Krispie. And that was it. That was the last thing I had before stepping on stage, blah, blah, blah. And that was it. Like, that was my show. I mean, after the show, I had about a dozen donuts, some cookies, some chips, some Snickers, pizza, pasta, mozzarella sticks. I had a bunch of shit. But, like, my first show day experience was, it was great. Like, I mean, reverse dieting into my show alone was amazing. Being able to have water was amazing. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to have water this time around because I'm not flying into anywhere. But I don't know. I had a really good time. There was just like, it was just, when we moved to Texas was like the hard part. And then the one day that I was like super low on calories, and then the not wanting to eat my double burger. Those are like the 3 instances in my prep that I remember like were the hardest I ever had. Other than that, like, it was fucking great. I did keto for a month. And then I went back to like a normal diet, like low carb, high carb, that kind of thing. And yeah, that was it. That was my fucking show, and it was incredible, and the experience was amazing. I fell in love with the challenge of it all. I fell in love with the discipline and the dedication that it took to get there. Sure, I got an incredible body, and sure, the whole body part of it is amazing, but it's not everything. It wasn't everything, at least, especially not for me. Like, I never thought that I was capable of pushing myself the way that I did for my show. I am capable. I learned that I am capable of doing so much more than I think I can. And that alone was enough for me to think, or to know, that I wanted to keep doing it, because I wanted to find out. I still want to find out, what else am I capable of? What more can I do? There was a lot of personal stuff that went down that year that like tied into this entire thing, but it was like, okay, like, hey, look, I feel like I can't keep going right now, but I still have to, and I still did. So that was kind of like, okay, you can fucking do so much more than you think you can. So what more can you do? And obviously I was way too small for wellness at my first show, so even before before even stepping on stage, Coach and I agreed that I was going to take 2 to 3 years off the stage before going back on because I needed to grow. And that was going to be like another challenge. How far are you going to go to grow to get to where you need to be? And it's going to be 2 years by the time I step on stage again, and it's pretty fucking clear that I'm willing to do whatever it fucking takes to get to where I need to be. And it doesn't stop here. Like, as much as this show is incredible and it means a lot to me, there's still so much work to be done. There's so much work to be done to get ready for this show, and there's still so much work to be done post-show. There's just so much that needs to get done that, you know, there's no stopping. There's no stopping me. There's absolutely nothing on the fucking planet that can make me stop. Except maybe like if they tell me if you keep doing this, you're gonna die. But I mean, if it's my time, it's my time. But if it's not, then it's like, okay, maybe I shouldn't. But there's absolutely nothing in the fucking planet that can make me stop. Because there's so much more. There's so much more that I'm capable of, and there's so much more that I still want to accomplish. And it's gonna get done. Whatever it takes. So, whatever it takes.